Hi there girls, Mr. Gilmore here, and today we are going to be starting what is called transformational geometry, which is really far more scary sounding than it should be. What you'll need to know in advance is how to draw a parallel line, shouldn't be a S there, using a mat set. So, what items do we need from the mat set to draw parallel lines? Well, we need our set squares and we need a ruler. I've got a big old ruler here, but obviously if you're using the half-foot ruler, that's also fine. And what we'll learn today is what an image and a translation are, and how to draw the image of a point. And that should be image of a point given a translation. So, what is a translation? Well, a translation is really just a direction. It is a direction and how far in that direction something should move. So what we can see here is we can see this A point and this B point. We can see this line AB. We can see a little arrow as well pointing us along AB. So it's saying, okay, pointing from A to B. And what we do is we just describe that as A, B, and then we draw a little arrow above it to indicate, okay, this is a translation. This is also sometimes called a vector as well. You might have heard the term vector more often recently. People being vectors of the coronavirus, of the disease. That's where that kind of comes from. It's because, people who are vectors bring the disease from one point to another in much the same way as these translations bring something from one point to another. So we can see it's got a direction and it's got a distance. And we call these translations. And indeed the direction of the translation is also important, but I'll get back to that in just a second. Now what we have here is we have a point, okay? And we want to find the point after it's given the translation AB. So the idea here is that we are going to travel in the same direction as AB with the same distance as you would find from A to B, but along from X, okay? So different starting points, but it's kind of like what AB is kind of saying is okay, go this direction for this length. In much the same way as I might say, okay, walk northeast for 75 meters. This is saying, okay, go kind of southeasty for 4 centimeters, okay? So what do we do in order to do this translation? Well, first we need to draw a parallel line from AB going through X, okay? So what we do is we line up our set square with the line, and then we line up our ruler below it, okay? So this way, any placing of this set square next to this ruler is going to be a parallel line of AB, isn't it? If we hold this ruler in place, and it's really crucial, if you hold this ruler in place, I just place my hand onto one, just hold it steady. And then all you need to do is just slide down that set square, okay? Hold the two in place, start drawing a line, okay? Now, we can see this line is shorter than this line, isn't it? So it isn't going the full distance yet, but we do have the direction correct. So what we do next is we measure the distance between AB, and in this case it's about 4 centimeters. And then we just line the ruler up again with this line that we've drawn, this parallel line to AB. And we just extend it until it's about 4 meters long. And then we put an X here. We put a little comma, a little apostrophe up in the top right hand corner of the X to say this here is the image of X under the translation AB. We call this image of X under translation AB. Now, this is a pain to teach online. So we're going to go through this section a little bit slower than the other sections, just to ensure that everyone can follow along with what I'm doing. So you can see this point X has travelled the distance of A to B in the same direction as A to B. That's all we're going to do today. We're just going to look at how we make the image of a point. And tomorrow we'll be doing the image of an entire object. But for now, we'll just focus on points. Okay, so bring one over and get A and that little apostrophe in the top right hand corner to say it's the image. Okay, so here we have another one. We have the translation XY, and again the arrow is going from X to Y, so we write it in this manner. And what we do is we just draw a parallel line from X to Y, so a parallel line of XY going through A. Okay, so drawing a parallel line, there we go. Okay, we've drawn that little parallel line. Now we need to measure this out. Okay, so we're going to just take our ruler, we're going to measure this out. Again, it's about 4 centimeters, so that's going to save us a lot of time. And we just measure off 4 centimeters there. We end up getting A prime. Okay, so we get the image of A under the translation XY. What if, for example, it was the opposite direction? So what would the translation of A be under YX? So imagine this arrow is pointing in the opposite direction. Well, it would be the same magnitude. It would just be going in the opposite direction for 4 centimeters. So you would have a point A prime here. And that would just be if it was going from Y to X, but it's not, it's going from X to Y. So we're just doing it in the same direction, okay? So that's just why it's important that we always get the direction of our translations correct, okay? Okay, so let's do one more, and then I'll assign homework. You can already read it if you're super eager to get started into your homework. I know all of you always are. So again, we're going to do a parallel line to MN. Slide along. Start a line there. Okay. We'll measure out M to N. That's 7 centimeters. So now we'll just do a 7 centimeter long line. And I've been doing these lines quite dark, I think. Normally you would want to have quite a light little line, because the line isn't the important part. What's important is the image Y. So image translation. Okay. So parallel line to MN, but going with the same distance as N to N. Okay, girls. So what I'm going to ask you to do is on page 375, do just question 1. We'll look into the other questions tomorrow. And also make 3 more translations for me and find points. Sorry, 3 more translation and points. So do ones kind of like these. Make them up. Be as creative as you can. And then find the image under that translation. Okay? Thank you very much, girls. I look forward to correcting all your work.